Hi everyone, Rich Runs Cars here. So today just going to give you a quick overview of Mercedes S500 that I bought at auction probably now about 9 months ago or so. I have used it a bit for commuting. I took it to a brokerage firm to sell for me. I think that sometimes you can get a better return for these types of cars using a brokered sale. They weren't particularly good. I wasn't that impressed even though I've used them before. So I'm doing a quick run around because I've got someone coming to see it today and it might go. So before it does, I thought I'd give a quick whiz round. The wind's pretty bad today here, so hopefully the sound isn't too bad. So first thing to say is these are a lot of car for the money. It's an absolutely massive car. You can see it's parked here next to an Audi A6, C6 A6, which it kind of dwarfs really. Let's have a look. So, great big V8. You can see it's actually a fairly clean engine bay, again for the age of the car. It's been regularly serviced, so it's pretty good condition. And then inside it's just what you'd expect, super luxury, heated leather seats. This hasn't got the cooled seats. But it's pretty nice and kind of walnut trim and dash. Command system's pretty good on these, even though it's 2010. I think it still doesn't feel too dated. So this one's got the tip and slide sunroof, which is nice. I always like that. I mean, the leg room in here is frankly ridiculous. It's the long wheelbase, so it's huge. I mean, I've got this front seat, how I drive with it, and there's loads of leg room here. Excuse the trainers. So, centre armrest, this is where some of them do have a fridge in this compartment here, but this is blanked off in this one, no fridge. I've obviously put the headrests down, which are remote controlled from the front. Obviously heated rear seats and multi-adjustment rear seats as well, which is a bit ridiculous really, but there you go, that's what S-Class is about. And the good thing about this is, although it's 383 horsepower, it's such a kind of refined drive, so smooth, etc., that it actually is about the only car that makes me not drive like a knobhead. So that's a good thing for it. And possibly my favourite function, if I can find the button, yeah, is the electric rear blind. So I love this because when you have some arse sitting up you can just put this up and it doesn't look particularly blocked out, but when you put that up people can't really see in. It's awesome, I love it. So it's like giving two fingers but in a kind of S-Class way. Awesome. So maybe I'll give you a quick run through of the kind of technology, etc., that this has got, the functionality, and talk about how it drives, etc. So obviously a 2010 facelift W221. So being 2010, some of the technology is, I guess, fairly old by today's standards. Got the Mercedes command system, which I actually find much better than similar era Audis and BMWs. It works well. Navigation needs a DVD, so fairly old school in that sense for updates. There's Bluetooth phone connection, but not for music, so you're restricted to the 6 CDs, and I think it has a SD card slot there, yes. And obviously radio, but no digital radio. I do quite like this swivel function on the screen though, which is quite quaint, I suppose. I guess it's quite a Mercedes thing to do, perhaps. Bit ridiculous, but obviously no touch screen here. So it's got all the usual things you expect. It's got daytime running lights, bi-xenon headlights. The auto lights are very good, so it's got the cornering function, so they move direction as you go around the corner. It's also got the intelligent headlight system, which dips your main beam when it sees another car headlights coming your way, which works really well. Got it on my E63, and it's a great system. It's obviously got all the usuals you'd expect, volume control, menu control on the steering wheel, cruise control, speed limiter, auto lights, auto wipers. And I suppose the main thing you notice about this car is just the space and comfort, which is obviously what it's made for. It's huge, the cabin is massive. It's a long wheelbase, so in the back you notice that even more with the legroom. I'm more used to it now, but when I first got in, it is just huge, almost feels too big. But for this kind of journey where you're just motorway cruising, it's great. Super comfortable, big, comfortable chairs with loads of adjustment, heated leather obviously, with memory function. This doesn't have the cooled ventilated option, which I think was an option on this. Whether they're worth it or not, I'm not sure. I have them on my W221 S500, and to be honest, I think they're a bit of a gimmick. Maybe they just don't work very well on that car. It is 20 years old, but they're basically little fans that vent in the seats, so I don't think you really get much cooling. I think they're a bit of a gimmick. The one thing I would like on this that it doesn't have actually is the massage seat option, which I think was an option on this model. There's a button here which you can change the lumbar support on, which for some reason the lumbar support is through the command system rather than through the adjustment buttons on the door panel here. So onto the driving. I mean, so obviously it's a very large car. It doesn't hide its weight and bulk particularly well. So actually we're in the sport setting on the suspension. Normally I'd be in the comfort setting on the motorway, and it glides over everything. It rides absolutely beautifully, and that's what makes this car such a good motorway cruiser. This sport, it says airmatic suspension. Obviously you can stiffen it up with the setting here, but in sport, which stiffens it up slightly. To me it's not enough, although obviously it's not that kind of car where you expect it to handle really well round corners, so you have to bear that in mind. But it still feels very big and a bit wallowy in the corners, if I'm honest. Again, it's not that kind of car. I prefer my cars with a stiffer suspension setup in general. I think it just highlights that. So this has the 5.5 litre naturally aspirated V8 in it, being the S500. It's very, very smooth. Works really nicely with this car, being the size it is. I think I wouldn't want to have much less power. This is, I think, 383, around about maybe 420 Newton meters. Maximum torque between 28 and 4800 revs. So relatively low for a naturally aspirated car, I suppose. It's enough power. It never feels super rapid. I think it's quoted as about 5.4 seconds 0 to 60. Not the kind of car you test 0 to 60s in very often. Nice Porsche 981 Cayman there, as we're just passing. Very nice. So yeah, it's comfortably fast, let's say. So there we're in just downshift to accelerate at motorway speeds. It moves pretty well, without ever feeling super rapid. Personally, I think the gearbox in this car is a bit of a letdown. It's the 7G Tronic, so relatively old technology now, I suppose, for Mercedes. It's just very slow. The gear changes are nice and smooth, and I suppose that suits this car well. but yeah, they're just very slow, both on when you try to downshift with your foot and with the paddles. There's probably a 3/4 of a second delay between hitting a paddle and getting a gear change. And I know it's not the kind of car that you're looking for that kind of directness in the drive, but I barely use the paddles in this because of that. Also because they are so horrible. They're tiny, stubby, little cheap plastic things that just feel out of place in a car that cost, what, I don't know, 80 odd grand new back in 2010. So yeah, again, it suits the car because it's nice and smooth, the gear changes are smooth, the engine's smooth, and the ride, it all goes together well for a nice motorway cruising luxury package. I suppose it just highlights that I prefer cars with a sporty setup, a bit more directness, how they react to your inputs. But it's a hard to beat package. I can't do any direct comparisons. The only BMW 7 Series I've had, as I mentioned, a 2006 or 7 750i, so a bit of an older model than this. This is way better, in my opinion, all round. And the only Audi A8 I've had is a Mark 1 S8, so really can't compare that. That was, I think, a 1998 model. Loved that car, but obviously you can't compare that car from the 90s with this. I didn't mention the MPG on this, so just a note on that. I usually get, I suppose, high 20s on a long trip, motorways, etc. I've done now nearly 50 miles, and we're doing a shade under 26 MPG. That's been almost entirely motorway or fast A roads, so it's not super efficient. I guess I maybe have a slightly heavier right foot than others, but it's obviously never going to be that good, being, I don't know, 1850 kilograms, maybe more, and with a 5.5 litre V8. Round town, it's obviously a lot less. I imagine low 20s, but I really don't take this car in town. It's not good at town driving, in my opinion. I think it highlights, obviously, the size, the bulk, the manoeuvrability. It's awful to park in tight spaces. Also, the kind of sluggishness and shifting at low speeds is not great, to be honest. So I'm saying a lot of negative things, but overall this is a great car. It does what it was meant to do really well, and it's a lot of car for your money. So I may do some future videos about how and where I buy cars, why I buy them. So I got what I think was a fairly good deal on this. I bought it in an auction. It's in tip-top condition inside, virtually unmarked. Even all the nice walnut, etc., is looking good. Outside, other than the wheels, which are a bit curved, it's also excellent. So, probably looking to get about between 11 and 12,000 for this. I think that represents pretty good value. It's 58,000 miles. It's got a good service history, excellent condition, and it still feels modern enough to me to cut it in today's market. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed my mini review of my W221 S500. Let me know any thoughts, any comments are appreciated, any advice, any things I got wrong.